Good live, and we are ready to go. Okay, one sec.
The link's already out.
All right, so folks, obviously, special episode of Beyond the Pitch joined here with my regular co-host Colm McWigan on what
All
this
right.
been a
All
busy
good.
few days. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Busy few days for you, mate.
Uh I think it's been the busiest 3 days that I've ever had as a United fan with the information that's been handed to me, and we've had these in the past where there's been lots of rumors about what's going to happen with the Glazers, all that, and never really been able to go anywhere with it. But this time, it's absolutely bulletproof, right? I can't say how I know what I know, but Manchester United are for sale, not partial, 100% for sale. Um, I've had that confirmed to me by people in the financial sector. I've had that confirmed to me by people who have spoke to the Glazer bankers. Um, there's a lot I can't say right now because I'm not allowed to say it. But if you're a United fan right now, uh, this football club is in the process of getting sold, and I'm quite confident that that's the case. So I've been sitting on this for a few days, which is part of the reason why I've been quiet. Part of the reason why I haven't really been commenting on transfers. I've been handed other information that is astonishing, to be quite honest. One of the things that this will not be popular, but it's true. Um, Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold are not the reason why Manchester United don't make signings, nor is John Murdo, nor is anyone else. Right? It is 100% Joel Glazer. And so the family there's I know there's been pressure put on them by individuals within their family, from what I'm told. And so I definitely think we could see Manchester United with different owners in the next few months.
Well, I think you contacted me on Monday about this, didn't you? So you told me on Monday we couldn't say anything, obviously. And then the story's been broke earlier on from Bloomberg. But I think it's going to be like a short term pain for a long term game because obviously, like, we're not making signings this summer. It's pretty obvious. You can even think of the whole Sancho saga from last year and compare it maybe to De Jong in ways. When you think about, like, De Jong's probably not going to happen. Rabiot looks like
No,
it's
De
not
Jong's
going to happen.
definitely not going to happen.
Rabiot's not going to happen. So, like, where does this team go from now until January? And then in January, whenever the market is like it normally is in January, it's going to be even worse because of the World Cup this year. So what happens then? Do you wait until next summer? Does the rebuild then start next summer? Is it going
There's
to be
no
the same
rebuild,
manager?
Colm. There's no
Is the new
rebuild.
manager is it going to be a new manager? Because whenever a new owner comes in, the new owner might say, "Nah, Ten Hag's not for me." The club's in absolute
Well,
shambles at the moment.
like all those possible permutations. To be honest, my focus has been completely taken off transfers the last couple of days and the chaos that is transfers. I mean, if you emotionally extract yourself from what's happening and look at it from, a purely neutral analytical point of view, it is just a disgrace. And they're not running the club like people who expect to be there for much longer. I mean, there's a duty of courtesy or asset that they're not even that they're not even doing. So when I the people that I've spoke to in the financial sector um, that have stood this story up, and multiple sources, by the way, that are very, very, very close to people who are interested in buying the club, and the number of people I spoke to that have stood it up. So it's 100% true, right? I mean, it's utterly impossible that this isn't true. And I don't believe for 1 minute. I think if the Glazers could get someone to invest and take their money, they do it and then sell it. But you don't give Dracula money to run the blood bank, right? Everyone knows they're the problem. You'd have to have had a lobotomy to give the Glazers money to invest in that business, because they're completely unpalatable to Manchester United fans. They continue to run the football club in the ground, but it was always destined to end like this. The trajectory of the Glazer ownership was always this was end game. End game was going to be a complete capitulation. Absentee landlords. They saw what happened with Chelsea. I'm certain of this. said it's time to go. I understand from what I've been told. It's been pressure being put on them from some of their family members to do this, and United, you know, we are just finding out about it, but I understand it's been out there for a bit now.
But do you think maybe that goes all back to Cristiano Ronaldo signing? Is that smart from the Glazers in a way that they
No,
drive the value of the club, the
I
commercial
think
value of the club rises, and we're not making any more signings? It's a smokescreen to the fans because the whole Ronaldo was here a few years ago. Ronaldo's a great signing. Really, Ronaldo isn't doing it on the pitch at the moment. Anyways, I know I've stuck up for him and said last year he was unbelievable, but whenever you think about it, is that all just a ploy from the Glazers last year that said, you know what? Yeah, let's get Ronaldo in. Let's drive the commercial value of this club. We're going to sell him, because what we've seen in each transfer window is reaction to other
do
teams,
you know what I believe
reaction
happened,
to
Colm?
Glazers and no proactivity.
So in 2020, when United were after Jadon Sancho, they knew in June that they weren't getting them that summer, but yet they had a strategy to brief till the last week of the window that they were going to get him, and then come out and do something else and try and say. I think they did exactly the same with De Jong. I think that the impasse with Barcelona suited them because it gave them an excuse to not have to go through with the signing. I think it suited Frankie De Jong because he was able to leverage Manchester United's interest to get paid. Also suited his agent. So I don't believe United have ever been really serious about signing Frankie De Jong. Based on what they did with Sancho in the first year, it was identical. And I think that what happened with De Jong was all United knew all along this was going to happen. I think that's part of the reason why De Jong hasn't come out and said he wanted to go to United, because I don't think United have been serious about signing him. I know
But then
John
where does
Murder-Evering's
Ten
been out
Hag
there. I
where
know
does Ten
John
Hag
Murdoch's
stand
been
on
out
this then?
there. What's that?
Where does Ten Hag stand on this then? He's got obviously a good
Well,
working
I
relationship
think
with
Ten
someone
Hag's been
like De
lied
Jong.
to.
So
I think he's been
yeah,
lied
so
to.
where does the buck stop then? And what's to say that the grass is going to be
Well, the
greener
buck
whenever?
stops with the new owners. It's as simple as that,
Yeah, but that's the
right?
thing. What's to say we're going to get a great new owner in? Because you're not
Well, no,
guaranteed
of
that
course
either.
we don't know that,
Do you know what I
right?
mean?
That of course is another unknown. We don't know that. Um, we don't know what's going to happen with potential new owners and who that's going to be and all that. That's of course an open question. That's another issue. But um, you know, you can't have a relationship with people with a lack of trust. So you terminate a relationship once there's no trust. Glazers are not in this to get trust from people. Um, don't think the Glazers have ever really been serious about doing anything other than sustaining the asset, which is what we've seen this summer. And we're never serious about a rebuild, never serious about any of that. You look at Ranić leaving everything else, anything that's got a long term projection doesn't look good. Ronaldo is going to come out and do an interview, which the Glazers will be extremely nervous about. The sponsors are extremely unhappy. I know that the international rights holders are not particularly happy from what I've been told, but because when the Premier League, as a commercial entity, needs a strong Manchester United, right? It needs Manchester United. It helps sell subscriptions. It helps sell pay-per-view rates. Helps sell everything. And a Premier League contract without Manchester United is not worth the same. Make no mistake about it, Colm, Manchester United's results for the last 20 games would have them second bottom, right? Manchester United are in serious, serious trouble. They're not even competitive in games. They've played Brighton and Brentford and got demolished. They're not even competitive. This football club isn't on its knees. This football club is dying. And if it doesn't have a complete change of direction quickly, Manchester United are in legitimate, serious jeopardy of going down because most of those players don't want to be there. What Dean Henderson said is a reflection of how a lot of players feel, but he was one of the only ones to say it.
But then that's where the problem is, because Rome wasn't built in a day. You said it's not, but it is going to be a rebuild. It has to be a rebuild. The team
Not
are
on
in
the Glazers,
shambles.
it won't be.
There's not under the Glazers, under the new ownership is what I'm saying.
Yeah, of
So
course.
so so at what point then does the club get sold? This from what you think, it could be
Well,
up
it's
to
not going
2
to happen
years,
before the
right?
transfer window.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll know that. So it's going to be a year, 2 years, right? So the rebuild really is going to take a year after that. That's almost 3 years by the time this club's back. Fans don't
No,
really care about the background. Fans care about what's happening right now.
take a look
The
at
here and now.
Newcastle.
Yeah, take a look at Newcastle.
They'll buy
That's a great
players in January and make
analogy.
sure the club's stabilised, and then they'll do it next summer.
But we're not Newcastle. We're bigger than that.
I'm not saying we're
What's the
Newcastle. I'm
difference?
saying that the situations are analogous, right? So what will happen is the difference between United and Newcastle is you can't go in for superstars right away. City had to do it over a couple of years, but United, you can do that, right? So in January, when you've got money as a Manchester United manager, you can attract players. United will not have to go through that process of build. They could go to the top of the market right away. Newcastle can't do that. City couldn't do that when they first got money. United will be able to. They'll get players in January that will make sure the club gets stabilised, make sure there's no problems, and then following season they'll spend.
How long does it take over? So do you think that we will be taken over by January?
Well,
is what you think?
Of course. There's no way that football club will still be owned by Glazers by the end of the year. No way. On top of which, it happens a lot quicker under new owners than it happens under these owners. Because these owners are taking this football club down, right? If you don't get new owners quickly that are willing to invest in that football club, Manchester United are in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Most of the players don't want to be there. They're not even competitive in football games. So the atmosphere inside the club is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. It's impossible for Ten Hag to do his job. Utterly impossible with the current climate. Hasn't been backed, hasn't been given the players. Blatantly obvious that the players that he has are incapable of playing the way Manchester United want to play, the way he wants to play. It's impossible, right? So,
but the signings he has brought in. So, like, I'll just stop you, because the signings he has brought in haven't really done much, really. Like, we're looking at Lisandro Martinez, right? Jamie Carragher's coming out and saying he's never gonna.
Fuck Jamie Carragher.
No, I know, but it's a good point.
Who cares? It's not a good point.
It is a good point. He's a small centre half who can't cope with the physicality of the Premier League. It's a good point you made.
So tell me, you think Lisandro Martinez is the reason United lost 4-0 to Brentford?
Absolutely not.
He was the best player against Brighton.
Whenever you hear Thomas Frank coming out and saying that they targeted Lisandro Martinez.
They targeted Christian Eriksen too.
Yeah, but they targeted Lisandro Martinez because of his height.
They targeted Christian Eriksen too.
He got whipped off at half time. They bullied him.
They targeted Christian Eriksen too. They targeted Luke Shaw.
No,
I mean, you can target 11 players in Man United. You're not getting any result from him.
So my point is that what he's brought in, he's been in charge of this recruitment. We touched on it last week. He's brought in players.
He hasn't been in charge of recruitment.
Well,
Joe Glazer's in charge of recruitment. Joe Glazer says no.
Well,
Joe Glazer
he has the final say on it. He has the final say on it.
I can tell
you.
So
Ten Hag doesn't have the final say on who's coming in the club. No. It's kind of hard to believe, mate.
But I know this for a fact. And you know how I know this. And I can't tell you how I can't put it out of here. But I know for a fact that he doesn't. And I know for a fact who's in charge of recruitment at Manchester United. And I know for a fact why he's not getting players. Right? This has got nothing to do with Ten Hag. It's got nothing to do with John Murray. It's got nothing to do with Richard Arnold. It's got everything to do with Joe Glazer from what I've been told.
So then why does Ten Hag not walk? Because Ten Hag came in here and false promises.
100%. Because he's 3 weeks into a job where he's being told to sit tight because things will change in the next 6 months. Right? So what's he to do? You know, I mean, you and I can say, but only he can answer that question, right? I mean, he's going to obviously have to. I'm not saying he's not blameless for some of the ways United played, right? I mean, but everyone, just like a player, has to give a manager time to learn how to deal with the league. That's fair, right? No, I mean, if anyone expected Ten Hag to come in and play total football right away and we were going to start battering teams, then they're not in touch with reality. Secondly, I don't care who the manager is. When you've got 11 players, listen, Solskjaer said after Everton game, when United lost 4-0, most of these players won't be here. Had Martial been fit, 4 of the players from that Everton game would have played at the weekend. All right? The football club is a mess internally.
Yeah, and I'm just playing, just to be clear, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Yeah. I think Martinez is a good player. However, I don't think he's starting centre half for Manchester United.
Fair enough.
He's better. He's better as a holding midfielder. So I want to just make that
fair
point
enough. Clear. I'm not saying you don't have a point about his height, and he will get targeted for his height. He will. But what I'm saying to you is this.
No, 1 second. Yeah. You said Joel Glazer's basically the final say on any transfer.
He's 100% the final say.
It makes no sense, though.
But it's fact. Whether it makes sense or not, it's a fact.
That's like someone giving you the control of Manchester United's finances and saying, "Phil, go ahead, you do that." He knows nothing about football.
I know, but that's obvious, mate.
I know what you're saying, but that makes no sense. Why? why has this been allowed to happen at
Well,
our
I
club?
don't
Why?
ask me, ask him. I'm not. I don't
Because
know.
there's people out there that obviously want the answers. There's people
Okay,
watching
I
this
can't
that
give you
want the
them. I'm
answers.
not him. I'm not clairvoyant. I can't read minds. I assume because if you look at how they run their other businesses, they do not want to surrender control of what they spend. Right? So I assume it's that. But the impasse is Joel Glazer. 100%, mate. So, and I have to choose my words very carefully here, right? I'm not a fan of Richard Arnold, not a fan of Ed Woodward or any of these people involved in the football club. They took the money to be the front, but they're impotent. They have no ability to make final decisions, from what I'm reliably informed. Now, you know what I'm talking about, right? Now, I'm going to have to leave it there. But this football club is in the process of being sold, and I'm relatively certain of that. And so
So
this
it's
is
not a minority stake that's being reported
no,
by Sky and all these
no, no. I'm
people that
the
work there.
Glazers will have certainly explored that idea. If some idiot's stupid enough to come in and buy Class B shares where they have no control over what happens in the football club and gives the Glazers a couple of 100 million, they can hold on to that asset for a little while longer while it recovers its valuation. Sure, they do that. I'm sure. There's no appetite for that, Colm. People, I mean, if you've got a couple of 100 million, you're not an idiot, right? And it's blatantly obvious that the Glazers are the cancer inside the football club. You don't, like I said, you don't give Dracula money to run a blood bank and say, here, I know you've actually run this football club into the ground. Here's some more money to do more. You'd almost, I mean, if you genuinely give the Glazers money to invest in a football club without realising that they're completely impalpable to Manchester United fans, it wouldn't change anything. United fans would still protest. They don't want them there in any capacity, right? I don't care if there's a benefactor in the background giving them $1 billion a week to put in the Manchester United. I don't want them there. I don't trust them. Glazers
Do you
get
think
more money, they'll take it out.
do you think that's ultimately the reason why Randy walked and said, my hands are up, I'm done, I can't have the final decision on transfers? Like you said, it's Joel Glazer making those final decisions, and obviously Randy would have wanted it.
I think that anyone who's looking at the long-term future of this football club and sees the changes that are coming wouldn't be confident in their future. So I think United were not serious about spending this summer. We're not serious about rebuilding this summer. And I think that if you are someone who builds a football club and you consult to build a football club, but you really no intention of following through on those instructions, what's the point? So,
but is there a point now where we can be positive about the future because we know that the Glazers are halfway out the door, that there's going to be a change? Yes, I'm not saying we're guaranteed great owners. We're not guaranteed loads of money in the first year of the Lord. We need it. We absolutely need it, and we need it soon. But definitely the grass isn't always greener, so you have to approach it with caution, surely.
Of course, you have to approach it with caution, and there's no guarantee if you get bought by a billionaire. Look, if you look at Arsenal, right? Stan Kroenke's wife is one of the richest people in the world. She owns Walmart, right? Walmart generate more revenue than most countries. Stan Kroenke's a multi-billionaire himself. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to come in and spend billions on your team, right? So, but United badly need investment across all sectors. So anyone that's buying it is going to have to recognise that the squad needs bad investment, the stadium needs bad investment, everything's tired. Just the basic, most logical extrapolations of what's going on at Manchester United. No sponsors paying for fan equity. If you want to sponsor Manchester United, the fans are the product. How on earth can you leverage any product to Manchester United fans from the Glazers and say, you sponsor my football club, therefore buy my product? Whenever Manchester United fans are constantly attacking sponsors. If you look at one of the biggest fundamental differences between 2005, green and gold, they didn't have Twitter. And Twitter makes everyone accessible. So United cannot announce a sponsor anymore without the inevitable reaction, right? So that revenue stream is gone. The Glazers have appeased United fans two ways, through signings and through results. They can provide neither right now. Okay? So if you look at that football club, the only kindest thing you can say is what they're doing deliberately. Because otherwise they're the most inept individuals that ever lived anywhere. Right? There's no way, and you have some highly competent people, they're doing this anything other than deliberately. There's no way, right? I mean, if Nottingham Forest can go out and sign 13, 14 players, there's no reason why United can't go out and sign 5 or 6 if they're properly funded, right? But based on what I've been told on the inside by people I completely respect and know, um, it's obvious why United aren't buying players and what they've seen, what I've seen,
But
what
then
they've
where
told
does it
me.
leave? Where does it leave us right now? Then so we've got what? How many weeks?
Here's the
2 weeks
thing.
until the end of the window. 3 weeks. What's going to happen before then? Because we do need stuff. We need people in right now. It's not as if we can wait. The team badly need it. We're shambles.
Well, here's the thing. When you started talking about maybe a short-term pain, long-term gain, this was probably where United are going to be at. So if there's an offer on the table that is, I wish I could say so much more, but I can't. If there's an offer on the table that the Glazers want to accept, they're not spending. Why would they? Why do they care? Right? Leave that to someone else. What did Mike Ashley do at Newcastle? Right? So United fans may have to accept the fact that what's going to happen between now and the end of the window is 1 or 2 dopey loans or something like that. Right? But I do not expect any major investment, Casemiro or anything like that. And the only way that will happen, the Glazers have to sustain the asset if they don't have an immediate buyer. Right? Because their asset's depreciating. And unless they've got a wealthy benefactor that's going to come in and just write them a check right away. But they can't, they have to be careful. So this is, I think that we may have to accept the fact that there may not be much happening between now and the end of the window. You might get a loan or two or 1 or 2 piecemeal signings, like a Rabiot, like an Arnautovic, which is clearly patchwork. I said when those signings were happening, before I knew what was going on, those are the signings you make to stay up, right? That's exactly what their intention is. Make sure this club doesn't stay in the bottom 3. Okay. So this is about sustaining the asset rather than investing in the asset. So I think, they expect the football club to be sold.
But then, what is there to look forward to as a United fan over the next few months? Is it going to be pain?
Probably. But I'll take it. I would take right now leaving the Glazers out the door right now for no signings.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you also have to think about the long term in terms of the season for this team.
I'm thinking long term. That's why I want them out.
Yeah, but this season's going to be bad. If we don't sign anyone, this season's going to be very, very bad. We're getting
the next
spanked
10, the next 40 will be bad if they stay.
No, absolutely, yeah, 100%.
I couldn't care less.
There needs to be some sort of transfer window here. We can't continue like how we are. I know you say a couple of loan signs. Pulisic, maybe possibly an unknown. Again, don't think he does much different to what we have. I think we definitely need a midfielder in. So you've said about sustaining the asset.
6 or 7 players, realistically.
Yeah. And you've said about sustaining the asset though. So
yeah, but sustaining the asset is not competing for top 4. Sustaining the asset is making sure you don't get relegated.
So, for example, if Ronaldo goes, which I think we're both agree it might not be a bad thing, what happens to the asset then if Ronaldo leaves? Does that depreciate?
If you're going to keep it long term, of course. But if it's short term, I don't. Why do they care? If there's an imminent sale, why do they care if Ronaldo leaves? If there's an imminent sale, why do they care who United are going to buy or don't buy? The long-term health of Manchester is not their concern. If they're going to sell the football club, that's yours and mine and the new owners. It's not theirs. So
that's if there is an imminent sale. If there's not an imminent sale, then losing Ronaldo affects what you sell the club for, obviously.
If they're going to let Ronaldo go, not sign players, there's an imminent sale.
Yeah.
Okay? Because...
And do you think there's a legitimate chance that Ronaldo leaves before the end of this window?
I think it's 99.9% certain that he leaves before the end of the window.
And where would he go?
No idea. I mean, Ronaldo could probably retire before he would stay. Because the situation with Ronaldo is a disgrace inside the club. It's unbelievable. And, a month ago we were talking about no leaks and everything else. What did I say? They'll be leaking about Ten Hag within a week. What are they doing? right?
Leaking.
By Ten Hag, right? So it's an impossible job in its current guise. The football club is completely unsustainable. The football club was always going to end up. This was always going to be end game with the Glazers. It was going to capitulate, and it's capitulated. So there's nothing that United have done this season. It's pre-season. It's commensurate with long-term investment about protecting the asset. It's all about patchwork so you can sell it. Right? There's other things that I can't say publicly that I'm aware of that they've done parsimoniously inside that football club that defy belief. And I love the football club. There's a lot of good people who work inside the club who share our views, who make a modest living, who are good people. It's not their fault. But this is a hard podcast to do, mate, because I have to pick every word carefully because there's certain people I need to protect with information. But the quality of information that I have is better than any time I've ever had. I'm not doing one with it. Um, I've spoken to certain people the last couple of days that they're not speculative journalists. These are people that work in the financial sector that are they're not in this for clicks and retweets and all that. They're in this to be accurate. It's more important what's right than who's right. And so I think it's pretty you could say with a high degree of confidence that Manchester United are for sale 100%, not partially for sale, not partial investment. I mean, that's a pretty logical conclusion based on everything that I'm being told by people that I have the utmost respect for. When I talked to Bloomberg yesterday about this. So,
Well, obviously, the clubs for sale. You've said that. You've said it's not going to be a minority share thing. It's going to be the clubs for sale. That's it. That's it. Done basically. And as far as you're aware, that there's a good chance there's an offer on the table without you saying it. I'm the one putting words in. From what I'm gathering,
I didn't say I do this.
okay, I said it. Will we imagine that's the case possibly? So obviously, it's at a stage where we're going to have to go through this for the next 3 weeks with no little to no signings. It's going to be a tough slog until Christmas, and even after that, it might not get better because what's to say the new owners are going to pump a lot of money into the club in January,
I
depending
genuinely,
on where we are in the league.
I genuinely feel, mate, that if it comes out 100% that the Glazers are soliciting offers to sell the football club, it would lift the mood so much inside United that they would recover. Maybe not to be our point where you get the top four, but I think you'd find some competitiveness in it. Because what you're seeing at United and the reason why they're losing games are more human issues than football, right? It's motivational issues, it's emotional issues, it's disillusionment, it's no fight, no motivation, no reason to care. Not because yes, of course, partly because they're not good enough, but more to do with intangibles, more to do with things that aren't from a training pitch, things that aren't from maybe a sports psychologist can help you with, but they have to identify with the cause. They have to identify 100% with sporting merit and have to identify with sporting accomplishment and want to achieve something. And first of all, believe that they can achieve something at Manchester United with players pleading for new signings. And how on earth can you run a football club like this? What do you think? Even if the Glazers said, you know what, we're not selling the club, but we're going to keep it in its current guise, what do you think that football club's going to be worth in 6 months? How does it make any sense?
That's the problem that we're in. And obviously, like when you've got players pleading for new signings, it's a serious issue. We're going to have to promote from within if we don't make the signings. If like you say, if like you say that there's a well, we're talking about selling James Garner the Everton or Chelsea or Spurs, whoever's in for him. What's that all about?
It's about making sure that whatever they spend is already covered, so that they're not spending more money they don't have to.
But they shouldn't be able to say. Then Joe Glazer shouldn't have a say to say, well, no, actually, I'm not going to buy this player because we're not going to be here, but I'm not going to sell him either. There should be some sort of stop to it.
It's his business till it's sold. Until someone writes, until he cashes a check, it's his business. So he is entitled to make those decisions. All right? Until that football club goes into escrow, it's his club. Till they accept an offer. It's his club.
Well, there has to be
And
like
he
a
will bear the
parentage at the
brunt.
highest level.
Well, he will bear the brunt of any drop in valuation as a result of the current plight. But you have to understand something about where the Glazers see Manchester United's value. It's not in results on the pitch. It's not in the stadium. It's in their brand and the global recognition of their brand, right? Disney, if you Nike, for example, when you'd see in a Nike commercial, they told you nothing about the product, nothing, right? It was all about the strength, the brand, the recognition of the brand. This is where the Glazers see Manchester United's value. The problem is for the Glazers, they're so bad right now. It's completely overshadowing this massive history of Manchester United that they can't sell to sponsors. So the juxtaposition of United's current position being so bad and so toxic versus the past, which is what they sell, is prohibiting their ability to market the football club and bring in commercial revenue. So the football club cannot be sustained in its current guise. It needs major investment. First of all, they can't compete with the top teams financially anyway, with Barcelona or with Chelsea, with City and all that. Or even if the Glazers, we're marginally taking money out. So
Do you
the
think that's
really
why maybe?
unsustainable.
Do you think maybe that's why that they've came out and said that they're selling a minority share? Because instantly, if they say the club's for sale, the price drops. Someone will make a low offer. Whereas if they say it's a minority share, someone comes in looking to buy the club. Do you think that's their ploy then?
No, I think the actual price goes up if they come out and say it's for sale, because you're going to have interested parties. The stock price will go up, what have you. I think they know that people will have got confirmation that there's something going on.
So what do you
And
make of
this
Elon
is the most
Musk's
plausible thing
tweet?
they can say. Huh?
Do you think then that plays on Elon Musk's tweet? Why he tweeted that when he tweeted it? Obviously, I don't think he's going to be interested. He maybe, but I don't think he will be. If he's tweeted, do you think he knows that United are for sale?
Well, if you're an intermediary, which the Glazers will be acting through, and you're not contacting the richest people in the world, you're not doing your job. So your job is to get offers for that football club. Your job is to, Glazers will appoint you and give you a commission for selling it, just like a realtor. And if you're sitting with one of the most prized assets in the sporting world and you're not contacting people like Elon Musk, what are you doing? So he will know it's for sale. Everyone in the financial sector who's got serious resources will know it's for sale. I think that they looked at Chelsea. I think they've been thinking about this for a while, to be honest. You know, heard what Richard Arnold said about needing investment for the stadium, everything else. They're not putting that money in. So they sweated the asset to its limit. And the asset is at a point now where there's really not much more you can sweat out of it without putting money back in. And this was always going to be the crossroads. When we lose the incentive to keep the club because it can no longer pay us in the way that we want, because look, everyone focuses on the dividends, but there's so much more than that. There's directors' fees, there's everything else that they're taking out. They've been selling parts of that club now for years. They took out $100 million operating loan after COVID. They sold $134 million the following season. So they've been on this trajectory for a while. So I think they've been thinking about it. I think if you look at where the financial markets are, the cost of borrowing money to continue to fund Manchester United is going up, right? I think when you look at all the other factors, it now makes more sense to sell it because they'll make more money selling it than they will keeping it. And that's the only thing that matters to these people.
So where does that leave us then? Obviously, they're going to leave. This season is going to be like what we watched last weekend was an absolute disgrace.
Mm-hmm.
Put the Glazers aside for a second. That was an absolute shambles of a performance. Not one player performed for the shirt. It was a disgrace from start to finish. What's going to happen Monday night? This is probably the biggest game of
They're
our
going to get
season.
drilled on Monday night. That's the only thing that can happen. Those players will be dreading this game, right?
Of course.
But the only way, United fans are going to protest against Liverpool, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the optics of that are horrible for United, right? Horrible for TV, international rights holders, everything else, right? The Scottish Premier League, Celtic fans won't thank me for this, but the Scottish Premier League needs Celtic and Rangers, right? Obviously. The TV contract is worth more with the Old Firm game, okay? I mean, I want to watch Old Firm games. I enjoy them. I'm a neutral. I like watching them. Football needs rivalries. They define each other. Manchester United, Liverpool, English football needs that. When Hicks and Gillette took over Liverpool, I completely empathized because I understood the antecedent to that was the Glazers. And when the Glazer takeover happened, it was a prophetic for a lot of fans because now they became educated on LBOs, labor rates, everything else that there was never a part of football parlance ever, right? But now it is. And now you can't pull the wool over fans' eyes anymore. But the Glazers set a negative precedent that was soon followed that visited other football clubs. Now you've got the Premier League. They're looking at their asset going, it's not good for business that Manchester United are sitting bottom of the league. Imagine United get relegated. It would be devastating commercially for the Premier League. Devastating, right? And not just for the Premier League, but for other football clubs. This is something, I mean, other fans may think we're arrogant, but that can't happen. But that's a very realistic possibility. Now, if this was happening in the NFL,
I don't like. It's
you don't
freaking me
think
out.
so?
You're saying there's a chance that we could go down. I mean,
Mate, take a look at United's results over the last 20 games. They'd be second bottom.
I understand that over the last 20 games.
It's 100%. Take a look at everything.
When you look at the squad and you look at the players that we have within the squad, yes, maybe they're not good enough to win the league. They're definitely not bad enough to go down. Like we need to take a step back for a second. I don't think that there's a realistic.
They're not bad enough to go down.
I think whenever you're looking at the players at the moment, it's a confidence issue. You've touched on it a second
Tell me
ago. Huh?
Tell me who they beat.
Well, again, you're asking me questions.
That matters, mate.
But I can't answer because I don't know who would beat. But what I'm saying is that we're going to see over the next 10 games. Like, I'm not going to judge them on the first 2 games of the season and say there's a chance we'll go down because I think it's unrealistic to say.
I'm not talking about 2 games. I'm talking about 20 games. If you look,
you're talking about the end of last season, which was also
it's got worse. It's managed to get worse. I mean, that performance against Brentford, it wasn't even professional. They're not even competitive in games. You watch an FA Cup game between Barrow and Manchester City, and you'll see a closer balance, competitive balance in that game than what you saw against Brentford. I mean, Brentford could have done United 9-0 if they'd really wanted. Really? Because every time they went forward, I mean, Colm, take a look at what you saw with David De Gea with that back pass, with that.
I know
that's offensive to my eyes.
I'm with you on that. But at the end of the day, we have to also be realistic, right? There's a new manager, a new regime, a different style of play. There's all these different factors, right? Yes, it was shite towards the end of last season, no doubt. It was shite at the start of this season, no problem. But we're only 2 games into a new regime under a new manager. To be talking about potential relegation for a club like ours is a bit ridiculous at this point.
Yes, club like ours?
If within
a club like ours, like 76, club like ours.
If within 10 to 15 games that this is the same route, then yes, of course.
So you mean if it's over 20 games, we're still in this?
But we're talking about
over 20 games.
We're talking about last season.
Well, what's different? It's got worse.
Under an interim manager.
But it's got worse. There's no new manager bench.
But we can't say it's definitely got worse because there's a new manager.
100% it's got worse.
No. It's a new manager, different regime.
What was the last game United season last season? What was it?
But we can't compare last season to this.
They lost to Brighton, right?
Different.
Why? It's not different.
It is.
Let me ask you this. If Norwich City stayed up on the last day of last season, is this season any different? It's the same team. They're the same favourite to get relegated.
Okay. Same team. A couple of different players added in, a different manager, a different setup, and a different style of play. How can you compare that to that?
Because here's the thing: you see what Brentford did. They did what Brighton did. They exploited United's weaknesses tactically exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. So everyone.
So you think after 2 games, after 2 games, right? What you're saying is that you can make a realistic assumption under
no after 20 games, after 20, 2-0.
Okay. Oh well, I know, but Ten Hag's only been here for 2 games of the Premier League.
Doesn't matter. Ten Hag's got nothing to do with this. Listen, Colm. If you've got 11 footballers on the pitch that aren't willing to do the basics, right? The basics, you're going down. Simple as that. Your future is in their hands. If they don't go out and run as much as the opposition, like they had to do on Sunday, you're going down. Because you got to find a way to get those intangibles out of them. How do you rebuild confidence when you're losing 4-0? Because you don't do that in the training pitch. How do you get them to identify with the cause that they clearly don't when they're so disillusioned and they're all want out? None of them feel like it's their fault. It's not my fault. It's upstairs. Just get me out of here. So you've got 11 players that don't want to play for this football club. Manchester United have went down before. And if anyone doesn't think that's a very realistic possibility, and I admire their optimism, But we'll not agree on that, mate. That's a very, very serious situation.
Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I think for me, I can't base my opinion of Ten Hag's this team, because it's a different team to last season.
Sure.
Well, whilst what you're saying is true, yes, the last games of last season were terrible as well, but it was under a different regime, so I'm not going to judge my opinion on that. If it's the same case after 10, 15 games, then yeah, maybe I will be on your side, I think. But at the moment, I don't think relegation is a possibility. Truthfully, I don't think there's much worse teams than Manchester United in the league at the moment. Yes, we're probably the worst of the lot in terms of how we're playing. But whenever you look at the players we have and the strength that we have, there's so much that we could be optimistic about, but we haven't got to see it yet because there's been no performances to show that. So I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't think it's a realistic possibility.
You can't judge players on what they've done a couple of years ago. Judge them on what they've done over the last 6 months. That's their recent body of work. The past is the greatest predictor of the future. And when you look at what those players have done for the last 6 months, they've done tools.
Okay, right. We'll touch on last season then, because that's what you've said, right? There was a mental state of those players towards the end of last season where no one cared. Like you just said, they all want out. There was an interim manager. They didn't know if he was going to be here next year. They didn't know if they were coming or going. None of them knew if they were coming or going, right? This is a new manager. I don't think those players can fold like they did under Ranić.
But they already did,
because he just won't allow it.
No. But when you say we won't allow it, what are the consequences for doing it?
Me or you don't know that, because we don't know
what are the consequences for Ronaldo doing it?
Well, again, if he leaves,
he's being made to stay at the football club because of his commercial value. So what's his consequences for down and tools?
Well, again, that's up to Ten Hag to make that decision. That's where he has to stamp his authority on the squad.
But he has no authority. When Joel Glazer is turning around and saying, you can't touch him because he's worth too much commercially to me, he has no authority.
Well, then he should have walked, because that's everything against what he's saying. He should walk then, in my opinion, if I was...
Well, I mean, look, the only way he doesn't walk is if he's being told not to, because this situation is going to change. But I would agree with you that if this was the situation that was going to continue, I would walk too, because I wouldn't sacrifice my reputation for them. But as we've seen, Matt, and this has not been a new thing, Manchester United coddle players because of their commercial value and usurp the ability of the manager to bring in his players and to get this player out and to get that player out. Joe Glazer has been doing this. Did it with Martial, with Mourinho. Can't get rid of him. No. Don't have all the players. No, I don't want you to get rid of him. Oh, you could sell him, but not him. You can't run a football club that way. You're a babysitter. And blaming the babysitter for the behavior of your kids is ridiculous. The habits come from the parents. They're the ones that set the parameters. They're the ones that set behavioral habits. They're the ones that set incentives. They're the ones that set punitive measures. And if you have no ability... if I work for someone that has no ability to sack me and no ability to discipline me, I have no respect for them.
But is it not that Ten Hag's trying to, it's a different way of thinking, it's a different culture. Obviously, he's trying to press, he's trying all these different things that isn't just going to change after 2 weeks. Well, I know he's been with the team since June, so he's been there a couple of months now, but it's not going to change after 2 games of the Premier League season, is my point. Do you know what I mean? Do we need to give him time? Do we need to be more understanding of the situation? It's a fluid situation, as you've said. So obviously, we're going to have to get used to this for a while, but we can't be saying, in my opinion, this early on, there's a good chance we're going to get relegated. There's a chance that we get relegated. I don't think it's...
If United don't change what's going on inside that football club, there's only one trajectory. They're heading. That's it. And I'm telling you, Everton, if you'd have asked Everton fans at the start of last season, are we too good to go down? They said yes. They weren't. It's a very realistic possibility. And let me tell you something. United are worse than Everton they were last season. Now, one of the positive things is the intangibles that are causing it to be this way, which are entirely mental, right? They're nothing to do with their technical ability, right? Has to do technically, those players on the right team are much better than what they are. I agree with that. And they shouldn't be in the band. But the reasons why they are, the only way that changes is when you got that football club and give it an exorcism and bring in people that completely change the optimism of those players where they believe they can be successful at that football club. See, the thing is, all those players think they're too good to go down to. They're too good for this. They don't want to be there. Get me out. Get me to another club. I don't want to be here. And when you have that, no collective team spirit, no one pulling together, no one taking responsibility, this is what happens.
But right? I think that's where the comparison between Ranić and Ten Hag comes in, because Ten Hag and Ranić, right, both wanted to play a similar way with the press, but they haven't got the players to do it. We haven't strengthened them, so we can't really blame Ten Hag or Ranić.
I'm not blaming him.
Do you know what I mean? So we can't. Because we have to say, like, he's not been back in the transfer window. He's maybe got a couple of his targets. He hasn't got who he needs in order to play this way. So how are we expecting Manchester United to come out and beat Brentford or Brighton. Like, see that Brentford game before the
Now
game, I actually
we're
texted
on
you,
the same page,
and
mate.
I said to you, Brentford would beat us. I said to loads of people, Brentford would beat us. It's a hard place to go. I think we'll get beat Monday night by Liverpool as well. But the problem is
Where
that,
isn't the
like
hard
you
place to
said,
go?
in the Premier League, well, like I mean, I know it's everywhere's a
I mean,
hard
it's
place to
one
go.
of the
It's
most
true.
overused cliches. Hard place to
Well,
go.
well, it is.
Everywhere's a hard place to go in the Premier League. And if you
But
don't
my
match
point is,
physicality, you don't match intensity, which neither are
and
miles
that's
off,
where.
you lose.
But I think that's where the point is that you've made there about the physicality, and that's my point on Martinez. Ten Hag should have made a reasonable decision for that game. That, you know what, I should probably start with Varane and Maguire
Yeah,
for the
two
physical
weeks
reason.
ago, he was called the Butcher of Amsterdam.
I know, and here
So,
I think he's a good player, but
so we can't say he
he's
doesn't lack
better in it.
physicality.
Well, physicality he
Did he
does lack.
not? There's not a famous video of him marking Holland out of the game, who's a big, tall striker.
But again, this is the Premier League where he was marking Haaland in it's one game, mate. Everyone looks good on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? You're watching
But,
YouTube videos of him.
but it's a game at the
I
very
think he's
highest level.
I think he's a good player. I just think I would like to see him in a role, maybe maybe could he slot in right back, left back? Could he slot in holding midfield? He's the type of
Possibly.
player could play slot in holding midfield, but he's not the type of player who's going to go up against physical strikers in whenever we're playing Brighton and Brentford and be able to muscle them around, because that's where you need someone like Varane or Maguire, or you know what, play five at the back then and have three, because he suits into a three well though.
But when you think about what a team is comprised of, it's comprised of players with different strengths and different ability, right? So defenders complement each other. Fabio Cannavaro was one of the best defenders in the world. He was 5'9". By the way, Sandro Martinez is 5'11", not 5'10", right? So Maguire's the height. Maguire and Lindelof have height. They were taken apart on the ground, right? So that's where Maguire and other players are supposed to come in and give assistance, right? Maguire doesn't match physicality either, right? Atrocious, just atrocious, right? And when you look at how United play and one of the things that they're lacking, they invite this pressure onto themselves because they don't have the ability to do what Ten Hag wants them to do. It's not his fault, and you can't hold him responsible for this. And so when I look at the reasons why United are failing, I don't see how they fix this with a manager. In fact, I don't see how they fix it with a couple of modest signings. This football club is in so much trouble. And Colm, I've been watching United since I was 5 years of age. And we've had bad signings before. We've had bad teams before. We've had bad results before. I've seen United get annihilated by City 6-1. I've seen them lose big, and it's been bad. But never for these reasons. And these reasons are really, really concerning, because it doesn't matter who you sign. As soon as you bring them into that club, they get infected by the virus that surrounds that football club. And I believe United could sign the 4 best players in the world, and within 3 weeks, they'd look like plotters. Because the things that you need to be a successful football club don't exist at United anymore, right? And they're not even trying anymore. So to bring this back to where we started, the positive thing is I am pretty certain this football club is going to get sold. And it's the only thing that can happen now to save this football club. Not just this, but to save the Glazers' asset, to save their profit. They can't hold on to this football club anymore because it's only going one place the longer they hold on to it. It's not recovering its price that it was in 2017. It's not getting back there. Okay. And if the Glazers were going to hold on to this football club, this was the summer to sit down and say, guys, you need to invest a couple of $100 million. Right? You'll get it back.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. But this is a neglected asset. Severely neglected asset. And you only start neglecting an asset when you're going to sell it. You strip it. And they've stripped it. And so they want to, the positive thing is I'm certain this club's going to get sold.
Well, hopefully soon over the next couple of weeks, and then we can get on to a new life as a Manchester United fan.
I hope so.
At the moment, it's depressing, and these conversations we're having are depressing. I need to go and take some time to myself after each time that we speak about this thing.
100%, man. What I will say, folks, is as I've said, this is a very fluid story. There's an awful lot that very good journalists have that they haven't put out yet that will, I'm sure, come out very, very soon. That we're sitting on. I will continue to update people as I get the authority to release some information. But a lot is happening. The borough, it's hot. things are happening behind. So
I just wish we had it broke the takeover news, because you literally told me about this early hours of after the game on Sunday. It was early hours. Everything that's come out today, word for word, you've told me. So obviously we didn't get the chance to
do you know what
get
they
that out
did
there
with
because we weren't doing
Thiago
it.
Alcantara, mate?
I know. Yeah, I was waiting on this coming out. Go tell them. Go end the podcast. End the podcast. Do you want me to say it? If you can't say it, I'll say it. No problem. I'll say it if you want.
What they did with Screenroar?
Tell them.
We'll leave. Anyway, when you see what happens, Solskjaer screaming to get Thiago Alcantara, Joel Glazer refusing to give him a 4-year contract instead of a 3. He wanted a 4-year contract. Thiago Alcantara's agent was begging United to give him a 4-year contract. Begging him. Solskjaer begged for him. Need this player to play out from the back. We need a technical defensive midfielder. I can't play with Fred McTominay. I need this player. Joel Glazer, no. Right? Screenroar. Joel Glazer, no. Right?
And it's there in writing. And people.
Well, I don't know if that is, but I know for a fact that it exists, that happened. Well, I would say I was told by an exceptional source that it happened. So,
yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But all right, folks, listen. Thanks for everyone downloading the podcast, listening. We'll upload this to our Beyond the Pitch platform. There's going to be a lot of podcasts over the next few days. To get more information, I'll continue to inform you. Thanks for all your support, and I hope you're all well. Take it easy. Colm, all the best, mate.
See you later, mate.